Welcome. My name is Joy Jangdhari, and today our special guest is Michael Meyer, president of FMT Group. Michael was picked as one of the top mover and shakers in Queens. Welcome, Michael. How does it feel to be picked as one of the top movers and shakers?
I'm quite flattered. It's an honor, and it's nice to be recognized for the work and effort that you do. So, but I'm always quick to point out that in business and many other areas, it's not just you personally that accomplish things, that get recognized. It's a result of a lot of teamwork. So I take this in honor of other people working with me on these projects.
That's great. So I just have to ask, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? If you were an English literature major, why did you go for an MBA?
Well, I had a mother who was very involved in the arts and was an actress, and a father who was a self-made entrepreneur. So I always had that struggle early in life, which way to go. And when I graduated college, I had thought I'd go into advertising to sort of get a little bit of both worlds, but family business had started in Montauk, New York, a seafood processing plant. So I got involved in that and quickly realized I was pretty good at business and wanted to learn more, and so I had more options in life, and so I applied for my MBA and got into Harvard, and that's how I was able to sort of move on from the family business.
Wow, that's wonderful. Now, how does a non-Asian guy like you navigate in the Flushing area, and what was the attraction working there?
Well, one of my passions in life is travel, and ever since I was a very young man, I've traveled all over the world. I actually started my career after graduating from Harvard by getting involved in international trade, and had the opportunity at a young age to travel throughout Asia and so forth. So I had a sensitivity to international cultures and traditions and ways of thinking. That's the first start of it. When I was placed on an assignment, and when I was at Tishman Realty and Construction, I was placed on a development assignment that had to do with redeveloping a project in Flushing, Queens. Never been out there before. And I took the 7 train, and I felt like I was stepping into another world, another country. But I did relate to it. And yes, I am. I was one of the rare non-Asians to this day, even though Flushing's becoming increasingly popular and is a destination for many. I am one of the few non-Asians walking around. But again, I have a sensitivity and an understanding of the culture, and a comfort level there.
That's great. So, did you always plan on going into real estate, and how did you get into it?
Well, not at all. I actually, as I said, family business was in the food business and seafood, then got into, after business school, I was supposed to go work down in seafood industry in Ecuador and Panama, but instead went to work for the Port Authority of New York, New Jersey to help start an export trading company. And I was an assistant director there, and then just one thing led to the other, and got very involved in trade development and trade services. But when the Port Authority, which was in the World Trade Center, acquired the Vista Hotel, which those who remember the old World Trade Center, there was a 821-room hotel and facility right between the two towers. And because I had the business background, when they acquired the leasehold interest, they asked me to get involved. So I got into real estate by way of the hotel business, hospitality business. I was an owner's rep and an asset manager, and years later picked up by Tishman Realty and Construction, and I helped the city of Miami Beach in their development of their convention center hotel, the Lowe's Hotel.
Well, that's wonderful. Can you tell me, what are some lessons for young people starting a career? Can you give us some advice there?
Well, I'm going to reference my father, who's 89 years old, who still goes to work. And he always encouraged us at a young age to take risks, to expose ourselves to experience. And he is always fond of saying that when you're young, you should make the most mistakes because they cost the least. So make as many mistakes as you can when you're younger. So I'd reference that. Other thing I'd say is that in my career, it's sort of unconventional because I'm a generalist by training and by nature. I was a liberal arts major, and just my skill set is very broad, I am not a specialist. So I think starting out, it's one of the things you got to sort of do some self-assessment and decide: are you a generalist or are you a specialist? And if you're a specialist, what skill type are you really going to focus on?
Wow, great. So how do you see the future development of Flushing, in particular in Queens in general?
Well, this is a story that's been unfolding ever since I got involved 12, 13 years ago. When I first showed up on the scene, when I got off that subway train, the number 7, when I left Tishman and went out to see the site, Flushing was a very blighted, extremely blighted area of the city. Mm-hmm. Years later, when I joined forces with Michael Lee, the chairman of FMT Group, when he brought me on board to try to go after a city RFP for their redevelopment of their municipal parking lot, it had changed. The city elders and community leaders had gone to then Mayor Bloomberg, who had just gotten elected, mm-hmm. to demand really attention and for some infrastructure development and so forth. So now we're in the middle of this construction and development boom, but our project, Flushing Commons, which is 1.8 million square foot mixed-use development, really was the catalyst for a lot of the ancillary development in Flushing. Of course, the larger picture is that the real estate market in New York in general is strong and is lifting all boats. But in particular with Flushing, you have the whole geopolitical dynamic with Chinese money coming over here enormously and just has been building mm-hmm. Exponentially over the last couple of years. And there are a lot of factors beyond just straight business reasons why money's coming out of China and coming into the U.S. And for many years, Flushing was really the beach hold for the landing of a lot of this foreign investment, Asian investment. Flushing in Korea, in Taiwan, and in China is followed by citizens there because there's so many relatives.
Right.
And Flushing is larger than Chinatown in Manhattan right now. It's probably one of the largest expat communities for Chinese in the world.
Wow. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you a couple personal questions.
Sure.
Okay. So can you tell me 5 things or a few things about yourself that no one knows or a few people know?
Yeah, I don't have many secrets. I'm a pretty open guy, but I have, the thing that most people can't believe about me because I'm so extroverted is that when I was very young, I was very shy. So that would be one. Mm-hmm. The other thing is people are surprised to see how much I eat because I'm sort of slender and they assume that I'm a workout or whatever, but I just consume massive quantities of foods. I joke that I eat 5 times my body weight daily, and when I was at business school, won a pie eating contest, so that's a little thing.
Wow.
I have lots of energy. An old executive assistant used to call me a whirling dervish. Other things.
So how do you stay in such good shape?
I think I just have a high metabolism, and I am active, but I'm not a real big workout guy, but I do swim in the morning.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's good exercise. Michael, how about your life passions? What are your life passions?
Well, family and friends are most important to me. That's critical. I love travel, as I mentioned. I've imbued that with my children, so I've had the opportunity now that they're adults to travel far and wide with them. Mm-hmm. I mentioned my food, comically, but food is a passion. I love the arts, photography in particular, but I've always enjoyed the arts.
That's wonderful.
And then exercise, like I mentioned, tennis and swimming.
Great. So how do you manage your stress? Or manage stress in general?
I think there are a couple ways I think I manage stress. Most important, you read about this all the time, about worrying about things you can't control. I tend not to be a worrier. I don't worry about things I can't control. I try to bring humor into what I do as a way of establishing relationships with people and working through conflict. I try to have fun every day, and I make lunch sort of an important part of my day as a way to take a break, as a way to connect with people. I often say if you eat alone, you've lost an opportunity to really build, to create a network, build a new relationship.
Oh.
So socializing, I think, is important part of that.
Right.
Exercise, swimming. I do my best problem solving in the morning when I'm swimming. It's very meditative, and that's very helpful.
Wow, that's great. So what are some of the methods that you use for transformation, as we all like to transform to a higher, to the best possibility that we can?
Well, I guess I would say I'm a reflective person. I'm a planner. So every year I do come up with a plan, personal and professionally, for my goals. But I'm a very, something I get from my father, again, is very curious. I'm a very curious person to people and ideas. Mm-hmm. And I think that leads to just new experiences and allows you to really, again, under the heading of a lot of self-assessment. And so what else? I think that's about it.
Okay. How about strength and stability? What would you say about that?
Strength, it sort of goes back to your question about stress, I think. For me, in terms of stability, I diversify my interests and my relationships. And so I have many. And in life, you can have some avenues that are working and others that are blocked, so it creates a little bit of that stability. Strength, I think you draw from your relationships, family and friends, the strength of those relationships, and your values. So I believe in being a man of your word. If you say you're going to do something, you do it. Having integrity. Being
integrity, that's great. That's a high one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's absolutely. Right. Reputation's critical. Right. I think that's it. Strength of values, a positive attitude, a positive energy.
That's wonderful.
That's wonderful. And recognizing that it's not always great. You got to think in the long term. Life and a career is not a sprint, it's a marathon. When you're blocked, you got to think about pacing yourself as you work through things.
Wow, that's great. And the last one is lessons. Let's talk about lessons.
I guess that last comment is really more of a lesson about really pacing yourself. I think one of the lessons I've had in working through problems or life setbacks and so forth is to play for time. People always underestimate how much how long it takes for a project or to work through a problem or make a transformation. It takes a lot of time. So that would be a lesson. At a very early age, when I joined my father, I realized who is an absolutely unbridled optimist. It's great to be optimistic, and I always hope for the best, but I plan for the worst. And I know I expect the worst. The platitude that's come up is hope for the best, plan for the worst, but I expect the worst. And just to manage expectations, personal expectations. I think in working through problems, when I think about in my career, when I hit a wall, I think a lot of people want to either climb over the wall or go through it. I always try to go around it. Look for creative ways to solve problems. Those were a couple.
That's great.
I'm sure there are many others.
So do you have brothers or sisters?
I'm very close with my brother and sister. I'm the eldest. I have a sister, and then I have a brother. My brother's in my dad's business. I moved on.
Oh, wow. That's great. And how many children do you have? Do you mind?
I have 2 children. I have a daughter and son. And
wonderful. You have one of each?
One of each.
How fabulous is that one?
It's terrific. They're the pride of my life. They're my greatest accomplishment.
Wow, that's great. So can you tell us a little bit about your business now? I mean, what is the FMT Group?
Well, FMT Group is a diversified real estate services company, primarily a developer, but we have our own construction company and property management company. It was started, it was founded by 2 chairmen, Michael Lee, who was the chairman, and Sunny Chu, who was the co-chairman. They came here from Taiwan in the 70s, and they teamed up together to form FMT in the mid-90s. That's right around the time I met them, when I was working at Tishman Realty and Construction. So when I came back to work with them, we won the RFP that the City of New York put out for the Flushing Municipal Parking Lot, 5-acre site. And that was the start of me being full-time as president of the company. And as I explained, it took us 10 years to get that project entitled and through the City Council, and then weather and survive the downturn and the recession, and then finally get our financing, and we're about a month away from having our first phase completed, which is about a third of the project, about 600,000 square feet. It's been transformational to Flushing, as I mentioned earlier. It's really, I think it's been the catalyst for other growth. It's really in the center of Flushing, and it's changing the whole urban landscape there. We have other projects. I helped negotiate the deal. We built the World Trade Center in Nanjing, China, and I had started my career with the World Trade Centers. I later sat on the board of the World Trade Centers Association, and that's a mega project that we wound up developing with JP Morgan Asset Management, and both of us have sold out our interests, but that was a very successful project. So we're mostly in development, mostly mixed use, large scale, China, and most particularly Flushing, but we have had some projects in Manhattan as well.
Oh, that's fabulous. Well, I just want to thank you and congratulate you again, and we're going to be seeing you at the dinner, at the Movers and Shakers dinner. So let me shake your hand.
Absolutely.
It was such a pleasure.
Pleasure's
Thank you
mine.
so much.
Thank you.